We all everybody. We all everybody. You know what that song is?
I have no idea, and I hope never to.
Okay.
What song was that?
It's We All Everybody. That's a song by it's from the TV show Lost. So Charlie was one of the survivors, and he was in this rock band that was like a big deal, and they had a hit. That was their one hit.
See, I knew I would regret asking.
Yeah, see, that's
there you
you
go.
were right. We all everybody.
So 10% of our audience just got really mad at me. Be like, that's obviously Charlie's song from the band blah blah blah. And then 90% were like, I don't know what that is either.
I bet it's more like 2%.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, it's much more than 10% that watch the show, but there's probably less than 10% who would still remember that was the song. And yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier ended Friday. Oh, super crazy action. The action. Yeah. And the way they're setting up, using these series to set up the new thing is really interesting.
So I realize that this is like you trying to get me to talk about fish for like 45 seconds, which is probably stupid. But should I mean, only 45 seconds. So that's the word I left out. Should I try to watch the pilot of Lost for a third time? Because I couldn't I wasn't mad. It wasn't like this is terrible. I just I couldn't get through it because I've heard that the ending for most people was like not okay, and so like I hesitate to get invested in the whole thing. Should I try again? Maybe not. For anybody who doesn't know, Lance was obsessed. Yeah.
I just think you have so many more choices now. I think if you were like interested in shows that had that kind of impact, I think it's got an important place.
Sure.
But I don't know. I mean, I never watched Game of Thrones, and I'm never going to watch Game of Thrones. Not because I'm against Game of Thrones. It's just like I got to choose what am I going to invest time in, and I don't know if that one's any better than the others. Like,
sure,
happen to dig them. And the middle seasons, super stink bombs. Like you really have to wade through
Lost.
Yeah.
Like, oh, really? Yeah.
You don't care.
There's
but
there's too much TV now that doesn't have bad. Like maybe has one bad season or none.
And this is what the problem was. Like the ABC wanted them. Nobody thought it was going to be a hit. They put this thing together. They swung for the fence. Like all this crazy stuff happened, and they're like, "Well, let's have a polar bear. Let's have a smoke monster. Let's do that." And then it's a hit. And then ABC was like, well, we want to have the show on forever. And they're like, whoa. We can't have like these mysteries that we just keep, we have to pay stuff off. So we need an ending time. We need to know that there's going to be a final episode. And ABC's like, no, we want to make money. And the creators were like, we got to have an ending time. And so it got a little contentious, but then before they got there, they had to they brought in new characters somehow in weird ways and but then they righted the ship, and I kind of liked the ending, but I understand why people didn't.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't opposed to the, it wasn't like I didn't dislike the pilot. I just couldn't get through it twice in a row. That's all, which is different. I wasn't like, why did people? Because I remember it was high production. It was like, it was like, I think I usually watch TV when I'm going to sleep and, like on my phone, and I fell asleep both times. And it's a long pilot, right? Wasn't that it was like long
hours? Yeah. It was like a movie they basically made.
But I just never went back to it. Like that's not a good sign because in general, I'll just go right back to the
I did that with Downton Abbey. I don't know if you got into Downton Abbey or not, but
a little bit.
Tried.
My wife watched it a lot. I ended up watching it some with her, but not not that much.
My wife, I'm not a fall asleep watching TV guy. Like I generally, if I'm going to watch a thing, I'm going to watch to the end, which is some sort of mental disorder. My wife tends to fall asleep, and so we tried to watch Downton Abbey, and we went 3 episodes in a row where I was out cold in all 3 episodes, and I was like, "This is telling me something." What are you watching now? Are you into anything exciting?
I'm watching Schitt's Creek right now. Which is like oh my goodness.
So good. How far are you
in? Christina, we were talking about Lost. I'm like most of the way through season 2. How many seasons are there of Schitt's Creek?
5.
Awesome. I was worried it was going to be like 3 or something, that I was beyond the halfway point.
And when he's lost, they don't know where he is, and he's couple of miles away on an Amish farm.
Yes, that was yep, and that was
And
yeah.
you get all the feels by the
And
time the thing is done. It's just beautiful. I love that show.
The I recently just got past the Jazzagals audition when the woman before her sounds like
killing.
oh man, and then she gets up there with the shaker and like oh, Catherine O'Hara, she's so brilliant. When
So
she's like,
funny.
I still can't even figure out a rhyme or reason to which words she like has an affected pronunciation of, and like I don't know enough yet to know whether it's like the same words that are unpredictable or whether she just throws in random. It's like
Yeah.
and someone has probably done a dissertation on it, which I don't want to read, but yeah, that show is funny, man.
She said she didn't tell anybody she was going to do this accent. She worked on an accent, but didn't
Oh.
tell anybody. And then she showed up doing this accent, and it just like killed everybody.
And I just found out. I just found out the other day. You got to be careful, like Googling shows that you're watching. But I just found out the other day that that Twyla is is related.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until
didn't know till the very end.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Yeah,
I knew that Daniel. Obviously, I knew
Yeah.
that they were related. But the yeah. Oh boy,
Anna's watched it twice. She watched it, and then it was one of those where she was just laughing uncontrollably over and over and over again. Like, what's happening? It's like, this show is just so funny. And then I watched it with her. Now I've got like my daughter's watching it, and she couldn't remember Chris Elliott's character name. Like, she was like, "Is it Ronald?" And I was like, "The joke is that his name is Roland Shit." And she was like, "Oh."
And just like the sign
coming
into town.
It's okay. It's his sister.
And the fact that anyway, yeah. I will say lots of people have said this, and it was very much true for me as well. If you're having a hard time, it's like it starts slowly. I started that one and I felt nothing on the first episode, and I didn't go back to it. Again, it wasn't a decision. I just didn't go. And then enough people who I see, when Netflix says like 99% match, it's like with other humans that I have like a 99% match in terms of TV or movies, like kept saying like you need to like get over yourself, like do it, and then I was like, okay, fine, and I was very happy that I did.
Well, and had you see, I grew up watching SCTV, which is where Catherine O'Hara and Gene Levy started, and John Candy was on there, and Martin Short was on there, and Dave Thomas was on there, Rick Moran, like this incredible cast. I'm forgetting one of the other. There's another female actor.
By the way, Facebook is being Facebook again, and I'm now seeing more comments that just say Facebook user in my chat bot that I can't find. Like somebody's talking about the Trailer Park Boys. I can't even find where those comments are.
Yeah,
they're on one of these pages.
It's not on the Brass Junkies Facebook page,
right? And I don't think it's on mine. Maybe it's on the Petalone Media one. Oh! I think I see 4 comments.
We got comments on our shirts, by the way.
Yes. We do. We totally. Well, mine is more of a red. There it is. It's Ellen and
I guess it's sort of
Michael James Kirby III.
It's watermelon color, I think.
And
then did you watch? So
mine's a ramen shirt.
It is a ramen shirt. Mm-hmm. So did you ever watch SCTV?
Never even heard of it.
Okay, so it was Canadian Saturday Night Live kind of sketch comedy. Okay. But that's where I first saw Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy and all those other, John Candy and.
I thought they were on Degrassi Junior High.
That was after. This was the fall. And then did you watch it? Were you into those Christopher Guest movies like Best in Show or
Yes.
So those two. Remember Eugene Levy he was the guy with 2 left feet in Best in Show. It's like I have 2 left feet. People say that as an expression, but I actually have 2 left feet.
Oh, Best in Show.
He's walking those dogs with his left.
If you want to see a show, then put Best in Show on in front of Russell Beebe, and then watch Russell Beebe watch Best in Show, and that's good entertainment.
Just that one, or see that way with like
no, pretty much all. I want to say Best in Show especially, but no, those
Mighty Wind.
All, that was
Mighty
funny.
Wind was a great one.
Yep, yeah, those were good. Yeah, that's quality stuff.
There you go. See,
yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
Indeed. Indeed. So Lance, what
Yes,
was the
Andrew.
what was the topic that
Oh,
we
we were
talked about?
talking about if you had gone into anything other than music, what would the thing have been?
Well, you start because you said you had an answer.
So
I
I
don't think
had
I
one
do.
because I was 100% positive that I was going to be an architect. Like when I was a kid, my parents would, if they were near a place that had like model homes that had the floor plans of them, they'd bring them to me, and then I would create my own. Like I got graph paper, and I would like create model homes. Totally, yeah. But I'd have been a much more well-paid loser, and was
We don't let
in
Nicholas call
mechanical
people
drawing,
losers.
and um, I was in architecture class. I'm sitting there in junior in high school, and it was like clear this was what I was going to do. I did it really well, and I was just sitting there the whole time thinking about when can I get back down to the band room? Like, what music were we working on? I was thinking about music, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. And so I like did the drop slip, and I handed it to the teacher, and he's like, "No!" I was like, "Sorry, man, I got to go play an instrument nobody's ever heard of." So architect, yeah, that would have been the thing.
Scott Quackenbush said archaeology. Sadly, that seems to pay less than being a trumpet player. Yeah, there is that. That's funny. How you doing, Scott? I don't really have an answer because I was like, I was going to be an astronaut,
Hmm.
uh, and I don't say this to be funny. I was going to be an astronaut until the Challenger blew up, and then like that scared me. I was in third grade,
Hmm.
and then I had no plan from third grade until sixth grade, and then I decided one morning before school in the shower, like had a moment, like it was a specific moment where I was like, I'm going to become a professional tuba player.
Was it because you were in the shower and you made a sound that reverberated in the shower that
I was like,
reminded you of the sound that could be made
it
by a
was like
tuba?
my foot squeaked on the floor and it sounded like a fart, and I was like, wait a minute, I could get paid to make farting noises. Like this is it. I'm gonna do it. Um, yeah, I remember having a conversation with myself, like, it was like, all right, it's been 3 years, dude. Like, you need a plan, which is kind of funny for an 11-year-old. So from 8 to 11, I was a rudderless ship, and then I just decided that I needed a plan, and so I came up with the plan, and then
Huh.
I told my dad first, and then he was like, well, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. I was like, well, that's good, because I mean, I don't care about anything. This is what I am doing. He was like, good, just work your ass off and you're fine. So, and then it all just kind of
Man,
happened. So yeah, so that's so I don't know what the hell I would do. Like if I
you
hadn't,
hadn't
because
done
yeah,
that.
if I
So you were a
hadn't,
one and done, yeah.
yeah, I really, the one thing that I knew was that, the one thing that I knew was that I wasn't going to, that I wasn't going to be sitting in a rocking chair up in the Berkshires when I was 75, having not made it in quotes in music, and like knowing in my gut that I hadn't done absolutely everything I possibly could to succeed. Like that was the only scenario that I was not okay with. Like if I went all out and it didn't work out, then not that I would have just been like, okay, fine, I'll go with plan B. I would have been devastated, but like I would have been fine long
Hmm.
term. So yeah, that was it.
There you
So
go.
yeah, yep. So there. So I
Take
kind of
that.
yeah. So I kind of know. Now, what would you do different? What would you do if you had to change careers right now?
It's a weird question because now I'm, 53. How old am I?
You're old enough that you have to
I don't know.
pause.
50, 67. So what year is that? So I'll be 54 in
I
September.
was like, you don't look 67. You look pretty good for your age.
So it's weird in that way. So if I was going to start over, what would I do? Well, I tell you, when I got out of the Air Force Band, I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do. And I considered law school. And I remember telling Pat and Sam that, and both of them independently of one another said, copyright law? Because that's useful if you're a publisher or creator.
Right?
It's like, so
Oh,
they're like, oh, that you
oh,
should do that.
they wanted you to do it for their own.
Yeah.
No, those are two horrible human beings. The
So
breathing Jim.
Um, let's see. It's a good question. Uh,
By the way, totally off topic.
yeah.
I posted this yesterday to Facebook here, but I really wish that Sam was still alive to hear that the United States like
Oh
formally
yeah.
declared that the 1.5 million people who were Armenian people who were slaughtered by the Ottomans was genocide. So yeah,
Yeah.
because we've and it was a little bit more low hanging fruit right now because things with Turkey are not going well, and so it's that's not to excuse they should have been speaking up the entire time, but it's like for being completely selfish on the diplomacy scale, it was more understandable that the United States kept doing the wrong thing because it was more of an issue to speak up. Now it's like things are not going that well, and so now they're going less well. But you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
was like the don't rock the boat, which they should have rocked the boat all along. I want to be super clear. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was like it was shameful that they didn't. But and to my knowledge, Reagan like kind of went down that road at the very beginning and then backed off, but before that, after that, this is like nothing. So
Nothing.
they just kind of like, yeah, it was unfortunate, and that was the official U.S. position. But the reason I bring it up is because it was that would have been really important to.
Yeah.
So I wish he was here for that.
One of my enduring memories of him was he. Well, we're at actually it's like 20 years ago is when I made that record. So he wrote "Relentless Grooves Armenia" 20 or 21 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those like the ink is still drying kind of deals. He faxed it to me, which I still have, and it's
Maybe you
handwritten.
are 67.
Maybe he faxed it to me. So this was what year? Is this 99, I guess, 98, 99, somewhere in there's when we were in production.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so he came, and so Relentless Grooves Armenia is 4 movements: slow, fast, slow, fast. And the slow movements have drone, and the fast movements have percussion. There's like a 7/8 thing, and then a 4/4 thing. And actually, as an aside on the 7/8 thing, he's like, "Hey man, I'm working on the thing, and do you want a 5/8 groove or a 7/8 groove?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." He said, "Well, you got to pick. Do you want the hiya hawaya or do you want the hiya hawaya hiya hawaya?" And I was like, "Let's go with the hiya how are you?" Okay, cool, man. Yeah. And but so I record. I can't remember the order in which I recorded the tunes, but the third movement is my favorite, and it's beautiful, and it's mournful, and it's sad.
Yeah,
And
that's intense.
he came out of the control room into the tracking room, and he told me the story of his family and how. And I won't go into great detail except to say that his grandmother or great grandmother, I don't remember which, was the only one out of 13 people in her family that survived this incredible, horrible thing.
I think it was his grandmother.
That
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
right.
it would have been his grandmother. Yeah.
And so uh, he said, he's looking me in the eye and he's like, and they did this, and then this happened, and then this happened. And my grandmother was 7 or 6 or however old she was. And she was the only one out of 13 people in her family who survived. So don't F it up. I was like, it's like, oh my God. It was
That's
like the most heart wrenching story I've ever heard. And then it's like, now you're going to operate this piece of metal.
Yep.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was crazy. Because you do.
good times.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was on my mind yesterday with that
Yeah.
news.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that too. Yeah. And then actually, here's a from the sublime to the ridiculous. I saw that one of the Kardashians reacted to it, and I was like, "Why the frick?" And then I was like, "Oh, okay." Because I didn't know how you knew that an Armenian was an Armenian, and then he explained the whole thing to me. So the IAN I never put together with the Kardashians. I don't know what the Kardash is, but
Actually, the other day was just was the anniversary of Prince passing away, which is a sad occasion, obviously, but it brought back to the to the forefront of the internet the clip of when Kim Kardashian made her way up onto the stage during. Have you seen this clip?
No.
Like during a Prince show, she got up there, which he like, he let her up, and I'm sure her people were like, she needs to come up, and he said fine. But then she wasn't dancing. She was just like standing there, just like waving to people, like while the music was going. And Prince says, "Get the hell out of here." He booted her. He booted her off the stage, and then like, I mean, you can't you could not you could you couldn't outshine Prince. I don't care, like, Kim Kardashian and Princess Di and like, I mean, feeling however, your 10 most charismatic people in the world,
Jeff Connor.
they're 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 not outshining Prince. So that's pretty funny. Well, the comments are all broken for me, as they always are. Someone asked, were you actually playing tuba at the time of the shower incident? That'd be funny if I wasn't. Yes, I was. The and yeah. So anyway,
How about that?
so what would you do if you had to start over?
Let's say, I guess, if I had to start over because I needed the bread, that's like a whole category of things. So let's say
Right.
if you could go do another thing that you thought was interesting, because like if I had to, I'd do whatever. I'd deliver pizzas if I had to. But
That's super lucrative, actually.
yeah, I guess if you do it enough,
They treat those drivers really well.
really well.
It's living wage. People always tip well because we're in a pandemic.
Right, right.
People
I
generally are
probably
kind.
would. I would probably try and like. I'm assuming that my success is foregone conclusion. By the way, in this whole scenario, I would try and create movies and TV shows and stuff like that, or stand up comic.
Huh. Huh. Yeah.
And
I
maybe
can see
the
it.
flipped order. Maybe stand up comic and then making movies and films and TV and stuff.
That you'd be good at that.
What would you do? Your
I would.
success is a foregone conclusion.
Well, I mean, if my success is a foregone conclusion, then I'd like play in the NBA or something. That'd
You
be
should do
fun.
that. Yeah.
That'd be fun, just to
Yeah.
even just be a bench warmer. So, oh, here we go. Now I'm seeing, I'm seeing more comments. So, Dave Topping found the album on iTunes.
How about that?
How about
See?
that?
I always
Zach
toyed
Kramer's
with,
saying about damn
doing
time.
like a
Yeah,
20th
I'm sure that was the recognizing the genocide, which
yeah,
yes,
I think so too.
about damn time indeed.
Yeah.
So what would I do? I mean, I would probably do something relating to like online education.
Mm.
I mean, like which is kind of a cop out because I'm kind of already doing that. But like, I mean, maybe I would just do it on a different subject matter if that counted. I mean, that's probably what I would do because there's just so much low hanging fruit there.
Another thing that I might do would be to be the best blank purveyor of my area. And it could be that I made the best bagels or beer or coffee or wooden spoons. Like, I don't care what it is. Just like got wicked into something.
Right.
And became known. Oh, that's the wooden spoon guy. You gotta.
Right.
If you need a wooden spoon, you go to that guy.
Or I guess if the success thing is a foregone conclusion, then author.
Author.
I mean that would be.
Well, you'd have to learn to read.
Would I though?
That's a good point.
I've been. Well, I think I told you. I don't know if I've said this publicly or not, but I'm doing the writing and community akimbo workshop through Seth Godin's thing, and I've been putting in 15 minutes a day now for, I don't know, 40 days in a row. So, which is like, it's like starting to be like a chunk of time.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's
almost
coming.
10 hours.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like, it's coming. So, and it's interesting. Like it's definitely a muscle, that, that you, and the way I'm formatting it, I believe it's going to be called the Entrepreneurial Musician. Although I'm like now thinking about possibly writing like 3 shorter books, maybe like, one that's all about like mindset. I'm not sure. I'm still kind of, but yeah, it's a, so that's also something that I'm kind of doing. I mean, but so that's a little bit of a cop out answer too. But if that just like became my job, like if I had
Mm-hmm.
to, I think I could get into the process of writing for 2 to 4 hours a day and then being done. But if you write 2 to 4 hours a day
Mm-hmm.
and you do that every day, you put out a lot of books.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep. Or a
I
lot of
could
blog posts or a lot
see
of newsletters or a lot of whatever.
like journalist is kind of interesting. Like I think after having done as many interviews now as we have, I
Mm-hmm.
have a greater appreciation for that, and that's always I've always just sort of been endlessly fascinated by people and
Yeah.
curious about them,
Mm-hmm.
and would often entertain myself and others by uh, talking to just random people at great length. So, like a cab driver at great length about their lives and how they got to be doing what they were doing, because this was just curious to me.
Yeah.
I remember
Yep.
my wife got very uncomfortable at one point because some friends of ours and I went to a restaurant and sat outside. This is 5 years ago, maybe. And it was kitty corner from the convention center in Pittsburgh. And there's a big furry convention in Pittsburgh every year. I mean, the furries aren't big. Some are big, but I mean, it's a well attended furry convention. Furries of all sizes. But anyway, we were asking ourselves all these questions about the furries. Like I wonder why they do this. Do they all, like some had really elaborate. And so I was like, why don't we just ask them? And so the one of them was walking by. I would say, hey, can I ask you some questions? And they were like, sure. Some talk, some don't talk. I learned. Some have handlers, but the one of the ones that, and there's a name for the handler. I'm sorry, furries, that I don't remember what the name. Caretaker, maybe something like that. But it was fascinating. And then after a few minutes, then my wife is like kicking me under the table. Shut up. Let him go. But I was like, you guys were just as curious as I was. I know, but let him go. I have some awesome photos of me with a whole, like surrounded by furries. But they were fascinating. It was a really interesting set of people. I mean, how is that any less weird than a bunch of tuba players?
I
They're spending about the same amount of money as we are. They're going to conventions.
did you did you just compare?
Yeah,
Did
I
you just
did.
compare an iTech
Straight face.
to a furry
Straight face.
convention?
I make no apologies. I stand by it.
I don't think you're ever going to get elected president.
Of which?
Of either.
Who did I insult more just now?
I think that was a swipe at both of them. That's when you know you do good work.
That's right. My work here is done. Not everybody. That's why I only show up on the internet 1 hour a week. I do more than you imagine if I was on all the time.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. I need a moment.
Zach Kramer.
I need a moment. Yeah, I saw. Yes, it did, Zach. Yes, it did. That's funny. There you go, Lance. Good stuff, man. I hope the next one of those that you're that you try to get into, they just leave you stuck in the lobby. So yeah, good times. Speaking of iTech, I recorded. I was part of a very interesting panel that got recorded for the virtual. They're not calling it a virtual iTech though; they're calling it VTech. So,
VTech. What's the V stand for?
Very tuba euphonium conference. It was a career. We were like the not normal. I was a part of the not normal career panel, but it was a hell of a panel. Chanel Critchlow, who of course has a show on Pedal Out Media, she's a badass. John Sass, who's been one of my heroes for a long time, and actually, I had not spoken with Mr. Sass since I had not seen Mr. Sass since the 2002 iTech in Greensboro, North Carolina, in Sam Palafian's hotel room with Pat Sheridan And John Sass has a very loud laugh. Like when he really gets revved up, we got one of them out of him during the, like it was like either the pre or the post, and it revved up. And Pat does a really good impersonation of John Sass's really loud and really awesome laugh. That's even louder than John Sass's.
It's weird because Pat's usually so quiet.
So Sass is sounds like he's gonna fall over. He's laughing so hard, and then Pat gets nose to nose with him and is screaming in his face, which then made. And this is just in a hotel room at 3 p.m, and I was laughing so hard that I was on the floor. I was rolling around on the carpet, tears streaming down my face. Yeah, that was the last time and Sass was like, oh yeah, it kind of all came back to him. So and then Deanna Swoboda and Scott Sutherland and
Very
myself.
cool.
So it was a really cool panel. Yeah,
That's
it was
a cool panel.
Yeah, it was neat. I guess they did this was hosted by Dr. Matthew Hightower at the University of Kentucky and Dr. Mark Thiel, the maestro, the conductor. He's a tuba player, but I always make fun of him. I didn't until he became a conductor, and now it's just I'm kind of required to. But it was great. They did a great job, and I guess there were 3 panels. There was one that was a college teaching panel, which I wish that they had included me because I could have talked about quitting 4 different college jobs. I think that would have offered a unique perspective.
Would have.
And then they did an orchestral / military band one as well, and then the weirdo job track was us. So, but it was good. It was those panels. I'm always happy to do it, but those very frequently are range from fine to you're not mad, but you're just okay. They frequently have way too many people on them. It was these were 5 interesting people with self-awareness, not talking too long. It was great. The whole thing was awesome. So, and the questions, the guys running it did a great job. So it was fun. So you can look forward to that. All you tubas players is so. I have more than once. Well, at least once was with you. I've been on a panel with 12 people before, an hour-long panel with 12 people, and that's kind of one of those where has anybody thought? That's with no intro, that's 5 minutes per person up here. With
that's
no intro,
9 too many, maybe 10 too many.
Right? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I understand the need to not the need, the desire to include as many people as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't get any depth at that point. It's a really specific skill to be able to deliver super high protein, in-depth information in 2 minutes, because also panel discussions aren't asking you a question. It's not something where it's not a yes or no question or a number question where you then give a little context and you're done. It's what are your thoughts on, So it's much better if the guest has the chance to actually do a little bit of in-depth and then, and then let the next one do that. But yeah, when you gotta when you can't remember everyone's name on the panel, that's not. I was friends with all 4 people on this panel, so that would have been a very bad sign. Like you, what year was I born? How old am I? How many fingers am I holding up? Oh, anything else, Lance?
I doubt it.
I think we've got a really good episode this week.
We recorded a hilarious thing just earlier today.
Really good episode. Yeah.
Well, not just hilarious, in depth and cool and different, and
talking really about overcoming fear and being too hard on yourself and
leakage.
Yeah, rain. I think that was after it stopped.
Was that in the
bonus? Yeah.
No, it wasn't even during.
No,
how did we not get that on the show?
I don't
mean
that was.
I mean the subject.
We were talking about Olean potato chips. Yeah, where there was an actual warning on the label. This was over 20 years ago now. It said, warning: this product may cause anal leakage.
So Zach Kramer's comment is even more important now.
Yes. But it was really good. And May 6th, Michael Sachs inside the look at that. See, I'm glad Matt Hightower just liked the Brass Junkies video. I'm glad that I just said nice things about the job that he did hosting the panel. That was a close one.
That was
See,
close.
I forget that anybody ever listens to us.
I know. Here's one last thing, a quick thing.
Yes.
Rick DeYoung may be listening right now.
That's right. He always may be listening. Yep.
So he told us he's our how would you call him? How would you call him?
He's
I would call him by going Rick.
The artist, not the rep. He's
coordinator, artist relations.
He makes problems go away for
does.
artists at KHS America, Jupiter, XO. Yeah, lots of places. I've been working with him for over 20 years. Lance for 15? Coming up on 15.
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm. He does. He makes problems go away, and he makes opportunities show up. And he's like a savant because he like.
He is.
Dinner with him one time recently. Hannah thought this was the funniest thing ever. We were at, of course, like a Charlie's or an Applebee's or something. It's like the only place he loves. He just loves. And he said, "I want the chicken Caesar salad." I swear to God, you won't be surprised to hear this. I want the chicken Caesar salad, except, like, how hard is chicken Caesar salad? Like, it's chicken and Caesar salad. Like that's a full sentence. I'd like the chicken Caesar salad, except instead of the grilled chicken, I would like fried chicken, a fried chicken breast. And then instead of the Caesar dressing, he wanted creamy Italian.
Instead of lettuce, I want a plate of spaghetti.
That's what I thought. So the food comes, and the plate gets put in front of him, and everything is exactly the same color. It's just like, what are you eating? He's like, I just love this. It's like, but the chicken looks like the lettuce, which looks like the dress. It was all like, no, it's good. It's good. Like, okay, man, you enjoy your chicken Caesar salad.
We have told this story on the podcast, but at this point, we've been doing that so long, it might have been like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That we were in Terre Haute, Indiana, and we were at Indiana State, and we were there for a residency for like 4 days, and we were in some hotel, and Rick got a suite, and he was there the whole time because we were doing some of his music. He's a composer, he's a conductor, he's like
music, yeah.
He's brilliant. He was at my wedding. I don't think Lance invited him to either of his weddings. So just remember that. Remember that, Rick, when I submit really large expenses once we're traveling again. He got a suite so that we could hang out, and he had to conduct something that we weren't involved with, and so this poor man gave, I think it was JD, whatever, it doesn't matter, one of us, we all had the same thought, this wasn't JD's fault, just gave him the key and said, there's a bunch of things to enjoy at the, snacks and libations, and I'll meet you back there. And we were like, oh, you silly man. So we had like an hour head start in his hotel room, and every single thing that wasn't literally bolted to the floor, everything ended up on top of his bed. That included all of the lamps, which were not in the ceiling. Those were lamps. So that when he came into his room, because we enjoyed everything, ruined the place, and then we left. And so he turned on the lights and nothing turned on because all of the lamps were
microwave was on the bed. Tables, chairs.
There was a lazy boy recliner on his bed. Yeah. And we were like at a bar by the time he got back. So that was so
Jim Nova, you could have it worse. Like, we give you a hard time regularly on the show.
That was peak Boston Brass hijinks.
I did some terrible things to Dave Porter's hotel room one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty bad.
You only pick on nice people.
That's true. Yeah. It's just so much more rewarding.
The lack of a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would know. I mean, you learn that. I mean, geez, my first day on tour with Boston Brass, like, I would have like totally given any of them my hotel key and been like, oh, sure, you need to go into my room to check for something. Like, by the second day as like a sub, I would have been like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'll give you my identity, like, before I give you my hotel key. Like, that's just not a good idea. Even after I take all my stuff out before we check out, I'm not gonna let you do that because you're gonna like steal a TV or something, and then like I'm gonna get charged for it. Like, no, You could never have access to my hotel room ever, not for 5 minutes. Yeah.
No.
You just know that that's just not a good idea in a road band.
No, terrible idea. We did when I was playing with brass band at Battle Creek. Pat and I were in at the same time, and we were doing the Great American Brass Band Festival. That's the same trip. There's a story involving rhythm and brass that we won't tell. And so these two guys were with the band, and they were rooming together, and they were both super nice guys. And they had left it was a motel, so they had left their window open a little bit. We popped the screen out, went into their room, took all the light bulbs, and we had a roll of duct tape. And we duct taped the receiver of the phone to the phone. And then went back to our room and called their room and just let it ring.
That's horrible.
It's terrible.
That's
it's really
horrible.
bad. Yeah, it's bad.
You know,
Not nice. And actually,
I
here's
think I need to reevaluate my friendships with you and Patrick.
I'll leave you with a Badger story.
All right.
Our dear friend Chris Matten. So there was a guy, Bob Daniel, was retiring from the Air Force Band. He was principal tuba for a long, long time. He was the chief master sergeant of the band. Well loved, well respected, great guy. Final tour is in Texas. He's a Texas guy. Last night of tour, Badger says to me, "Let's stay with Bob all night." And we're like, okay. So it was me and Badger. Wherever Bob went, we went. We just followed him every place he went. And there was like a big outdoor barbecue thing, and he's just like, we're tearing it up. And every time he turns around, there's me and the Badger. And so then at one point, he's been trying to lose us all night. And so then at one point, Badger, I go, he's over there. Badger goes, And so we go to the hotel. He goes up to the front desk, and he goes, said, "Hi, I'm Chief Master Sergeant Bob Daniel. I left my key in my room. Could I get a key? I'm in the Air Force Band." And they're like, "Sure, here you go."
Oh, no.
So we go to Bob's room and strip down to our underwear and sit on his couch in the dark, and we just sit there. And I don't even know how long we sat there. Half hour, 45 minutes. Sure enough, Bob comes in. He finds me and the Badger saying, "Hi, Bob." What the hell is wrong with you guys? I don't know. It's not clear to me even.
Fred Powell just liked this. I'm worried that he missed all the Rick bashing. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was only like 5 minutes ago. So you got to go back once this thing posts. So
it reminds me of too many stories. We got to get out of here because I'll just keep going.
Yeah, agreed. And we're doing a new thing format wise for the for our interviews, which we're about to record. We're doing really short intros, and then the Fred Powell just said, "Don't forget the infamous Last Supper," as we were all in the process of exiting the company, which shall remain nameless. Rick paid that bill. Yeah,
we just talked about that. I saw Rick a couple weeks ago. We had a good laugh at that.
That was yep.
He still doesn't know what the bill was.
That's pretty good. Me neither. I made sure not to look at it. Yeah, you should. I was like, I'm out. Yeah, I am out of here. So, yep. My first bill and my last bill with that company were doozies. Yeah, those were big. Yep. The first one was at Midwest in 2000. That was Patrick Sheridan and I'm not sure how we both survived that one. That was that was something. But this new format for the podcast, we're doing like a really short intro, and then we're actually we've been recording the intro afterwards, and then like we kind of talk about the episode. Lance and I are actually now recording an outro, so after the guest, and just kind of our thoughts on it, so we can kind of be a little bit looser and not they won't, I mean, some of them are going to be 3 minutes, not because we didn't like the episode, just because they're going to be 3 minutes, but then others is, you don't want a 12-minute intro.
Right.
So, although it does make the people mad that I enjoy making mad, so that would actually be the best thing to do is have an unpredictable length intro, so the people that really hate them have no idea how long to skip, so they actually have to search for it. So, but
if you haven't figured it out, if we love you, we will torture you.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but yes, check out this week's episode. We haven't announced who it is yet, but I will say she was wonderful, really good. She's hilarious, and it was a great episode. Yeah, really, really good stuff. So, all right, Lance. I think.
All right, Andrew.
I think. I think I've reached my fun quotient. So let's do this. All right. Thanks, everybody.